Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Cube Vanguard. So, it's been like 3 weeks since the last time I recorded, and it wasn't because I had a fit of massive laziness. I was actually really busy, traveled around a bit more. I'll talk about that in a second. And I finally got back to not being camera shy today. I mean, I wasn't camera shy before, I just had too much to do. You don't want to overwork. Anyway, so what I want to talk about today was the post that I did on the Veeam Hub, which is about my new lab setup, which is a combination of Proxmox, Synology, and of course K3S, my beloved K Kubernetes distribution. So we'll talk about that in a second. But first of all, I want to tell you what I was doing. So I went to a sales kickoff, object first sales kickoff, my first sales kickoff everywhere because I don't get kicked out of sales stuff because I was like a system engineer and system administrator. But now since I've kind of defected over to the marketing team, I'm actually included in these things, which is a lot of fun. I bring a different view of things because I'm always very skeptical about people who come up to me in well-dressed, smiling, and saying, "Hi, would you like to buy?" But nevertheless, that's good, right? It's good to have a different point of view. However, few stories from that sales kickoff is that, marketing people and salespeople are a little bit of a different ilk than us system administrators and whatnot. You have to be careful. And one of the things they do sometimes is they make up stories, right? When they're trying to sell stuff. But not only. So I'll tell you a funny story which happened at sales kickoff because, okay, I'm coming from Toronto, Canada. It's far away in the north. We don't have snow right now. It's a weird winter, but nevertheless, we don't have, massive cactuses, out in the backyard. We have them in, well, I don't say in zoos. I guess you could have them in a zoo, but in like, I don't know, plant areas, little baby ones. I've got a baby one at home kind of thing. But you don't have these massive, like, killer cactuses that are just enormous, right, all over the place. Well, they have those in Arizona. And of course, going to Arizona, after my whole childhood of watching cowboy movies and whatnot, I wanted to see what a real desert looks like with cactuses, right? So I walked around there and had a few experiences. I also went to Frank Lloyd Wright's the architect, Incredible's house there in the desert. It was fantastic. But I also went to the botanical gardens, which were incredible. And I walked out of there. They let me leave my luggage there. I kind of pleaded with them because I was going to the airport afterwards. And I walked to a couple of hills, which to me were like the wild, crazy, whatever. And I thought I was being really, kind of risk taker and all this. And then I saw a bunch of joggers go by and I realized for them it's just a local park, right? Nevertheless, it was an experience. And getting back to the salespeople. So one of the sales marketing people who sensed that obviously I was a foreigner from the northern area of the continent decided to play a bit of a trick on me. And I told the person I was going to go take a picture of a cactus and wanted to put like a little Utbi sign next to it for, kind of LinkedIn purposes to show off and whatnot. And they said, "Well, yeah, Jeff, that's good, but just be careful." I go, "Why?" "Well, you get too close and the cactus shoots the thing out." "Well, what do you mean?" I go, those needles, like they've got a self-defense mechanism. And you get too close, they shoot at you, right? Now, okay, the person said it with a straight face. I didn't, okay? And so when I went out, and these are big cactuses. I mean, if they're baby cactus, maybe I'd risk it. These are huge cactuses with a billion of those needle things, right? So I was going up and I was kind of whatever, from a distance. And I even had little selfie stick pole and I was trying whatever. And finally, this jogger stopped and said, "Hey, is everything okay?" Because I must have looked a bit strange. I kept, the cactus is, maybe the sun had hit me too much. And I said, "Well, I just want to be careful because, these things shoot out." And the lady looked at me and went, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, I was told that if you get too close to the cactus, it's like one of those plants that eats bugs. It'll sense you and shoot the needle." And then she just started laughing. I thought she was going to have a heart attack. And then of course it dawned on me that I'd been fooled and I was like an idiot for like half an hour trying to stealthily get close to this cactus before it shoots me. Anyway, so you just wait. If you come to Toronto, I'm going to talk about bears and polar bears and we'll see how it works. So just be careful when you're talking to salespeople and marketing people because they might play an evil trick like that on you and you end up looking kind of dumb. Nevertheless, it was successful. So I want to move over and talk about my lab setup. Now, this is an important topic now because ESX free version is no longer. It was just announced today. I mean, everyone knew it was coming, but there's no longer free ESX. So there are a lot of home labs out there. People they can't shell out tons of money for a hypervisor. So what are you going to do? And there's a lot of different solutions that are popping up everywhere, and it's hard to decide. I just went with Proxmox because I'd heard some stuff about it. There were some rumors that Veeam might be looking into supporting it. but there are other good ones too. So that's what I've set up. I needed something more than just this. I've got a powerful desktop with very limited space, and it just wasn't working. For baby Kubernetes clusters, okay. Anything starts to get bigger and everything collapses. So I got a Synology now, not a very expensive one, a DS237 Plus, and I'm impressed. I mean, this is just, it's small. I can hide it. So it's not one of these huge things that sits there and makes tons of noise, but it's just working perfectly. And there's a CSI Synology driver you can use in Kubernetes, okay? Anyways, so let's get to that. I open my glasses and we will go to the display. So now you can see my Synology. Before I show you that though, I want to show you, just because I know you're probably still laughing at my cactus experience. I mean, okay, you can laugh as much as you want, but take a look at this. Here's a picture of one of these things, right? I'll even focus. Look at that, right? Mind you can say, well, where's the antenna dish that's going to detect you? Okay, I get it. But those are not, I mean, you don't want to get hit by one of those things. So obviously I was a little bit terrified. And just to show you that I'm not enlarging the picture. Whoops, wrong one. Enlarging the picture. Let me pull this over too. I mean, look at these things. These are like 8 feet tall and a billion of those little spikes, right? So, I'm not going to risk it. I mean, what if the person was telling the truth and you get near them, I mean, it's like a free acupuncture session. That's true. But what if they have poison on them too? That's the other thing too. When I went, I always Google, of course, before I go anywhere about, the local dangers, especially when I go to the US. Of course, Arizona, they have every kind of snake imaginable. They have scorpions. They have little spiders called black widows, which are also poisonous, and they walk around people's backyards. One fella there was telling me how he at night will shine a flashlight because the scorpions, like, they make a kind of a glow or something. You can go out and, so anyways, I Googled all this, and I found out the snakes are asleep in January, so that's cool. And nevertheless, I was still worried about, what if one wakes up and I happen to be walking there and, he senses I'm Canadian and, well, that's a different type of meat. Maybe I'll try it. Although snakes don't eat people. But just with my luck, a scorpion will happen to be walking by or someone will walk by. So I was walking around these kind of hills and little teeny mountains. Well, not mountains, but they're hills and they're rock. And so that's where snakes like to live, with cactuses all over the place. And I was terrified, thinking, well, not terrified. I wasn't terrified. I was just being observant. I was being aware of my surroundings. Right. Okay. And the whole time I realized that I was completely wrong, because the first warning sign that I saw my whole trip was this. Okay. Look at this. City of Phoenix. Okay. So official. It's not some marketing person making a joke. Okay. Parks and Recreation Department. Use caution. Active bees in the area. So here I am looking down the whole time, right, for the scorpion snakes and these black widow spiders. And it's the bees I was supposed to be worried about. There you go. Now, I didn't see any of these bees, but I mean, if they put a sign up, that's scary. That means they don't want to get sued, right? They don't want Jeff to walk into onto some hill, get attacked by bees, and then I sue and make millions of dollars and live happily the rest of my life if I survive the bee stings. Because there were killer bees at one point. Anyways, let's not talk about that, but just to show you that I'm not a total, scaredy cat. It is serious. Okay, let's get back to serious matters. So here is my Proxmox, and you can see I've done all sorts of stuff with this. I've got a VBR server. I've got all sorts of stuff. I've got a K3S little cluster here of 4. But what I did especially for my lab that I set up and for my little Veeam hub post was I set up a 3-node K3S cluster leveraging CSI, Synology CSI. So I'll show you my CSI, my Synology 2. There it is. Okay. Really nice. Oh, it kicked me out. Isn't that good for security? It kicked me out. Oh, it's doubly kicked me out. This is just wonderful. We call zero trust. Okay. So we'll go forward. So here it is. And some of you might know Synology. Some of you might not. It can do a lot more than just what I'm using it for. It depends on the resources you bought with it. I mean, it has a virtual machine manager. But what I was using it for specifically is for the storage. And there's a SAM manager here where, in fact, you can actually see what? You see persistent volume claim. That's actually a persistent volume there, but that's the name of it. It's using the persistent volume claim name. And that is leveraging the Synology CSI driver. So what did I do basically? I've got a control plane and 2 workers. And inside of those, I hooked up the CSI driver. Now, Proxmox and all these solutions that I've tried, and I've been trying a few recently, if you've worked in virtualization for a while, so Hyper-V or VMware, a lot of the stuff becomes intuitive. So it's not like a huge learning curve. There are going to be differences. There's a lot of information out there, but at the end of the day, it's not something completely totally new. So it's not like learning Kubernetes or containerization when you've never done it before. I mean, that is a steep learning curve. This is not the same thing. There's some minor differences. For instance, you have agents in these things, and if you use the agents, then you can do all sorts of stuff, similar to VMware tools or Hyper-V integration. So you get the IP address here, and you have to enable it through options, and you have to install it in the operating system. So there's a slightly different. Well, no, because you do that with VMware tools too. So that's not too difficult. So there it is. Again, it's got different types of storage here, and again, people who do a lot of storage, it's nothing really that wild. I actually added the Synology to a storage, but this is not what's using for the K3S cluster. I'm using for VMs. Okay, in my Proxmox, again on this powerful desktop I have, it's got a lot of CPU and a lot of memory. It doesn't have much space. Okay, so I was in a dilemma. So the Synology has come and solved that problem for me. But so I had to add an area here, the Synology part of it, a pool. For my VM disk. So that's my VM disk. I also have some local stuff. I had a USB as well for the fun of it. And actually that works pretty well. See, I'm using ZFS on USB for archiving and storage and backups. That's pretty cool. But my main storage for the VMs is Synology. But don't confuse that with the Synology CSI driver. That's coming in through a different way. That's using CSI. So I'll be able to snapshot it, do backups with cast and whatnot, which I will do in a future release. Okay, so let's also take a look now at the cluster itself. So first of all, let's log into it. I think I was in there last time. Okay, let's go and take a quick look at that. No, that's not the right one, Jeff. Oh, yeah, of course. So let's just over. I have so many clusters and stuff, I get confused at times. Okay. This is unfortunate. What have I done? I have done something silly. Let me just think. It's not resolving. All right, well, we'll use the IP address. Let's just, it always works before you do it for the real deal, right? Because that won't work on purpose to make you look bad. That's okay. I'm used to looking bad, especially with the cactuses. So I'm not too concerned. There we go. Let's go in. Yes. I'll have to check that. I don't know why that's not working. It's turned on, isn't it? Yes, it is turned on. All right, let's clear our screen. This is my K control, which you see over here in the Proxmox. So let's get a K get nodes, and we will see our 3 happy nodes, control plane, and 2 workers. Okay, let's see what we have as far as a storage class. So let's get our storage classes. And as you can see, there it is. Synology, iSCSI, storage. Boom. And let's just get some PVs here and see what's happening. Yes. So if you look at this, this is the one I created. I created a basic Nginx little pod in its own namespace. And then I created a persistent volume claim, and that created automatically a persistent volume from this storage class. Okay. And as you can see, PVC892F, well, I'm not going to memorize this, but if you look at that and we go back to, remember the first little, PVC892F, okay? Remember that? There you go, PVC892F in the Synology. Isn't that cool? All right. So it's using my Synology, storage is separate, and in a future I'm still in my blog mode. In a future video, I will actually do a cast and backup, obviously, because that's what we always want to do at the end of the day. But this is pretty neat, and this is working really well. So the Synology combined with Proxmox, often what can happen in home labs, unless you've got tons of money, is you'll have one piece of equipment which is perfect for something, but is lacking in something else. And another piece of equipment which is perfect for something, lacking in something else. So in this case, my Proxmox server was powerful CPU. I don't have CPU on there, but it's powerful, believe me. And I think I got like 32 or 64 gigs even of memory. I can't remember, but it's enough. But I had like 500 gigabytes of storage there, and there was no way to add more. There's no space. And the disk, I don't know, it wouldn't work. Simple solution, a Synology, I've got 2 drives. I'm using 2 drives only. I'm not using any erasure code or anything like that because it's all my lab stuff. But 8 terabytes, 8 terabytes. So going from 500 gigabytes, right? It's like, to 8 terabytes. I'm just relaxing. And that's what you have to do a lot of times, okay? But the Synology, you can stretch to do other things. But I enjoy doing that. And again, a lot of people, including me, have a problem that you can't have huge piece of equipment in your house, and you can't have huge hogs gobbling up, energy and whatnot. You don't want to get $1 billion energy bill. So, taking little pieces here and there is great. And also you're recycling. I mean, at the end of the day, this is stuff you might have just junked out and you're still using it. This desktop, I don't know how old it is, but it would have just been, I don't know, that would be the end of it. Here it's really being put to a useful purpose. And I'm very happy. The performance is great. The stuff I do with Veeam is great. Now, when you say with Veeam, what do you mean Veeam? Well, okay, I'm using Veeam agents, obviously, because Proxmox is not supported, but there has been some talk in the R&D forums about possible support. Veeam now are having to think twice because of the VMware problems that they might have to expand, what they support hypervise-wise. Okay, well, so I think on that note, we're going to call it a week. Please check out my hub post. I basically described from start to finish how to set up these virtual machines and the K3S. And I've even gone to the point, because someone asked me, can you show the whole thing, including the setup of the Ubuntu VMs? Because, okay, a lot of us have done that a lot of times, but there's some people might be their first time. Or some people might see something different. Or someone might see the post and comment, well, Jeff, you did it this way. That isn't really the best way. Try it this way. I'm open for that. I mean, we're all in this together, and nobody knows everything. So any kind of comments or help is much appreciated. I'll just, before I go, show you my the pod I've got here. So pod in Engine X to prove that I didn't make this up. There it's running. And let's also show you the PVC. Boom, there it is. Wonderful. And you can see the storage class that's being leveraged is Synology iSCSI storage. Now, only 1 gigabyte, but I have so much storage there now, I could have gone crazy and had a lot more. All right. Well, so on that note, take off my glasses. We will see you next week. I'm going to try to do this every week again, and I'll have another fun, interesting story. Maybe not as interesting as the cactus attack story, but maybe the revenge story. When that person comes to Canada, I'm going to warn them about the killer raccoons and the coyotes and the polar bears that walk downtown and whatnot. We'll see them walking around. Maybe I get a video of them on the sly. All right, we'll see you next week on the Cube Vanguard. Thank you very much.